today I am honored to be with you, Charlene Louw, the CEO of the Beer Association of South Africa. And was it just about a year ago we met for the first time? Where I stole the opportunity to have a little engagement with you. And today we sit here a year later. And Charlene, what has life been like since you've taken over the role as CEO?
Sure. Byron, it was actually such a good thing that I met you again this year.
Yeah.
It was a lovely intro to the beer world last year this time.
Yeah.
With the interview. I was still very wet behind the ears at that time. But quite honestly, it's just been a very interesting journey. This has become an industry that has surprised me in terms of just the people, the culture, the love and the passion for beer. And the bite is bitten. Me!
No, I understand completely when you talk about the bite is bitten. It's like when I did my first beer, when I made it, it was a success.
Yes.
So I understand,
but it hasn't been without its challenges. I mean, this is an industry that struggles with high taxation, with a regulatory framework that is quite onerous, particularly for SME brewers and smaller brewers. They have to navigate a very complex regulatory framework, and so we've done all we can to try and be the voice and the champion and the mouthpiece for the industry in a way that over time makes meaningful change for the industry. So in that sense, there have been some hurdles along the way, but by and large, by and large, it's been rewarding, and I feel that even within this timeline that I've had, a big change has happened.
I'm not going to lie to you, there has been a significant change. And I can feel that sense of you having an impact in that, is that you've also been a person that's been up there as well. And as a person that does beer promotion of South African craft beer, it's been fantastic to the opportunity that I can sit and talk to you like this. And you are an open book.
Yes. Have to be. I need to create that trust relationship with the industry, because if I'm going to speak for the industry, they need to trust me with their interests. And so it's so important. That's why we're here today at BeerEx. We support all other beer events, whether it's a festival, craft festival, so that we're on the ground. We understand the challenges. We know who the players are. We see what the environment is like for them, and we're able to then create solutions and innovate to help the industry, and especially the SME brewers, because they are struggling in many ways, and we have to play our part in assisting them.
Okay. So then also in that regard, is there something that you found very challenging that you've overcome over the past year that you've been in the role as CEO?
Look, I think it's just trying to balance, shall I say, the interests of SME brewers that are members, as well as big brewers.
The big industry,
The big industry, right?
Because
they don't share the same struggles, they don't share the same problems necessarily. Some, of course, are kind of the same, across the board. But it's really about balancing those interests, making sure that everyone is heard equally, which is always very difficult. That balancing act hasn't truly been the most easiest, but one has navigated through it, and I think we've come out the other side okay.
No, I'm happy. I just see growth day on day. But in that same regard also, do you see what has been a highlight since you've taken over the role over the past year? What has been a highlight that you can say, I'm happy with that?
So I came on board, I thought to myself, there's got to be the creation of an association that has impact. An industry association is supposed to turn the needle and shift the needle for industry or sector. And so how we've managed to do that in this last year is, firstly, we've negotiated hard. In Mpumalanga, beer engrossers, here we come. We engaged the regulatory authorities there. They bought into the story that we were selling, and it wasn't really a story. It was really the beautiful story of beer and what it can do in terms of economic contribution to that province, in terms of job creation in that province, province in terms of tourism in that province. And they really then took charge and took a decision and said, let's give it a try. So that's a big milestone for beer. And small beer, because we want to lead with small beer and showcase the innovation of craft and the sensory experience that is craft beer, right? And then if one looks at your excise, for instance, I think if we hadn't made the noise that we had been making from a year ago to now, we were wild, yes. Because at times you've got to be radical about it, right? So that they see, so that the impact is really killing small business, right, of this excise thing. And so I do feel that it's a slight win in the sense that it could have been higher, that excise increase or that adjustment. And in fact, what we saw in budget 1
of 3,
it was sitting at 6.85. Budget 2 of 3, it stayed at 6.75, and then budget 3, it stayed the same. So which means they heard us. I want to believe, because I don't think these decisions. We think that's a win for the industry.
It is a win.
Although we would have preferred, obviously, an inflationary related view on it. But I think we could have been harder hit because of what we know to be the perception of government around alcohol in general, but also beer in particular. So those are some of the wins. But also I think there's just the partnerships. Byron, I want to tell you, it's amazing how the doors that we've knocked on for partnerships for SMEs in particular. To fund SMEs, to provide skills development for SMEs, to provide enterprise development for SMEs. There are now willing parties that are saying, okay, bring them, let them come. Where have they been?
It's a win.
So that means now with the doors that we've opened, there are brewers that are perhaps this size, that now we've created access to funding that will elevate them. If they participate in that, there's potential then for their products to be spread further than where they're currently selling and providing a very wonderful beer.
Very wonderful beer.
It is wonderful.
Come on.
Yes.
But it's been fantastic to see your growth. Just this is from my personal point of view. Is to see when I met you for the first time, you felt a bit. Of course, it's a whole different industry that you got involved in. But you see you a year later and enjoying a beer with you last night, and it was like completely. But nonetheless, I just wanted to say thank you, Charlene, for the opportunity that I can sit down and talk with you. And I firmly believe that we've got the right person in the seat to understand it also, and your relationships that you're building with CBASA, the industry of the big corporates, and that you're meeting them all halfway, but also understanding at the end of the day is the beer drinker. And I feel like this is just beside the point. It's like when I think I was like, so I just want to say thank you very much for this opportunity, and I wish you all of the best for the future. And is there maybe something that you'd like to say that you'd just like to convey to the beer lovers out there about beer and what the achievements or the goals are for BeerEx?
So we've got 3 strategic objectives, of course, very clear. We want to change the reputation of beer, make it more positive. We want to get a regulatory landscape that is more favorable, and we want to develop strategic partnerships that enable the beer sector. And in all of that, in fact, of all our targets that we set for ourselves and that were approved by our board in 2024, we achieved 100% of them. And so what we know for certain is that BASA has greater reach, greater presence, greater brand exposure and understanding and knowledge, where now more people know who BASA is. And more people now know the different beer styles and how you can drink beer in different ways, with different foods, how you can cook with beer, because we've taken it on ourselves to say, let's educate the consumer as well.
I'm making a beer brain next week.
There we go. And we've hosted, several of these dinners where we're just exposing consumers to a different side of beer, a more sophisticated side of beer, to change one perception, but to introduce people into the world of beer.
I'm happy with that. So Charlene, thank you very much. I really appreciate the time that you've given me. And So closing off, thank you very much.
Thank you
For the opportunity, and yeah, Charlene Louw, everybody.
Cheers, everyone. Not like my beer lovers.